Welcome to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. On this podcast, Laura
and Shelby, both board certified nurse coaches, show you how to make as much money as you want in private practice as a nurse coach. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. It's the dynamic duo here today, Shelby and Laura. And this episode is inspired by a conversation I had earlier this week with a mentee of mine. But we're going to be diving into niches, ideal clients, when to care about it, when to not. But I kind of want to start this episode on a little bit of a spicy note because most of you listening to this podcast are new, meaning that you are in certification, you have just launched your practice and are working on getting your first paid 10 coaching hours or 20 coaching hours. And there's a lot of nuance for niche and ideal client that I feel very insanely, irrationally passionate about. So we'll take some time to define what this is, when to care about it, all the things. But I'm excited. I want to say that we've done an episode about this, Laura, but it was probably a cute version to where I was like, this is an ideal client and this is how to find your ideal client. I'm hoping to bring you a message more from the streets today of experience.
Yeah. We hear this all the time. I don't want to, I'm just having a hard time with the niche because I don't want to leave anyone out. I can help anyone. And that's a valid thought.
Yeah.
There's a shadow side to that. And there is an empowered side to that. And I think we want to tease that out because most of the time when you say this, it's resistance, 100%, probably 90%. Yeah, it's resistance.
Yep.
The other 10% is usually you're just not ready to double down and target market a niche because you haven't put enough hours in. It's really one of those two.
Yeah. Totally. The conversation that I was having with my client earlier this week, and she's spicy in and of herself. So I promise there's a lot, I sought a lot of permission before I said this to her, but she loves to go to wellness fairs, and she lives in an area of the country to where they happen pretty regularly, and she thrives. She just has the energy for it. She connects with people really well, and she makes a lot of connections in her community that way. They're very good time spent at these wellness fairs for her. So she's going to another one, and we kind of always talk a big game about what's going to happen and then what we're going to do and our follow-up and all the things. And then she goes, and then the engine stops. She gets sick or she has a work thing, not illegitimate things that happen, but our follow through struggles on. And when you are in person in a big event and you've connected with 80 people, we're kind of trying to bottle lightning here. We have to have a little bit of a process. We have to have a strong follow-up game. No one is going to show up to this wellness fair and hand you a credit card to pay you $2,000. There's more strategy that goes into this. And I think that she's 100% capable of doing it. But she said on our call, she was like, I'm worried about leaving people out because I can help anybody. And I'm worried about doing this thing because then it might exclude whoever. And then I stopped her and I asked, I was like, can I make a funny, spicy joke here? And she goes, yeah, sure. And I go, you're not leaving anybody out. There's nobody at your door. We're not leaving anybody out at all. No one's here. And she's like, yeah, you're right. No one is here. I was like, your ideal client in the beginning is literally anyone who will say yes to a coaching call. That's it. That's right. Your ideal client. That's the only qualification. And provide a little bit more framework around this. Most nurse coaches that we work with, I would say a fraction, a tenth, if even a tenth of people know who they want to serve, and that's who they end up working with long term. Usually people think they know who they want to serve. They get out in the real world, coach a few of those folks, and they're like, I don't know. That doesn't really excite me in the way that I thought it was going to. And then we pivot. So we are really in the beginning when you're going from 0 to 10 paid coaching hours, we're really just trying to get you off the bench and onto the field, period. That's, and then you get to start running around the field and having a little bit of strategy and trending and taking notes of when I work with women, it's very exciting in this dynamic, or I actually really prefer working with men. We get to have real conversations about real people that you're supporting. And then usually between the 15-hour mark and the 30-hour mark is when clarity comes. It starts to trickle in. And then I'm just going to encourage you of okay, go coach 10 more nurses. Go coach 10 more leaders in your community. Go put in some more hours. And I would say that majority of folks have their niche by 100 coaching hours, paid or not paid,
Yeah.
but most people have it.
Yeah, I see it at, I mean, you do 60 in cert, and I see it at about the 70-hour mark in mentorship. So like 130
130.
total.
Yeah.
Yep. That's like the, and I've done that a few times, and it's like, it's so awesome when it happens because I can see it in the mentee's face when they come. There's like a different kind of confidence. And it's like, you know what? I think I really want to run this group, or I really want to launch this thing. And it's not like a hypothetical or what I should be. It's like I'm like, feel really certain. And then their certainty is kind of how I know it's time.
Yeah.
And you can't rush certainty and experience. There's no way to rush it. And I get so frustrated with, I was talking to somebody out of hiring a funnel builder the other day who ended up hiring us, and also different programs that say you need to have a niche to sell coaching. That's not
No.
untrue. Eventually you need to have a niche to sell coaching, because if you're going to do any kind of online marketing, any kind of funnel, any kind of personal brand marketing, eventually you need to know what problem you solve. You need to talk about how you solve that problem, but you're all generalists until you're not. And you might as well really embrace it and just get really good at coaching as a generalist and let your niche happen to you. And so many people tell us this on calls. They're like, oh, I was so grateful when I heard that, because everyone's been telling me I've got to define my niche and do my client avatar. And I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, a kindergartner doesn't know what they want to major in college.
Yeah. My daughter, my 5-year-old, wants to be a gymnastics teacher when she grows up. Homegirl's never taken a gymnastics class, and I can't get her to take a gymnastics class. Like, we should go like try one out, right? If you want to be a gymnastics teacher, we should go. And she's like, no, I just want to teach. And I'm like, babe, like the irony of this conversation right now is not lost on me.
I have something that happened this morning. I was listening to a podcast when I was doing farm chores, and then walking in from the farm, somehow I got on Facebook and I was in the Kajabi Hero community. So Kajabi is our platform that we use for all of our courses. And the Kajabi Hero community is all creators, like course creators. And this poor woman, bless her. And I almost responded and I didn't, because I didn't trust that it'd be coming from the right place. But she's like, I have been doing Kajabi for 3 months. I've done this. I've done this. I've done my funnel. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. And nobody's hired me and nothing's working. I have no money. I'm in crisis. I talked them into like giving me a month for free. And she's like, I help high achieving women create their dream business online, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
wow.
You're helping people do something you've never done?
Yeah.
Why would we think that this is a good idea?
Yeah. It's actually very clear as to why it's not landing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so
man.
usually your niche is something familiar. It's just something familiar. And you're very multifaceted, all of you listening. So whether it be a functional medicine kind of approach, or maybe you just really want to explore the chronic illness thing, or you're thinking about confidence, or you're thinking about self-love. Yeah. Yes. All of it. Play. Absolutely. Do one post. If you have 4 ideas, do posts about each idea and rotate them, and just keep getting clients until something lands.
Yep.
All of it's good.
Yep. 100%. 100%. And I think I want to highlight of like, as a new coach, you are a generalist, even if you're fairly certain that you want to work with a particular group of people. I encourage you to be open and just be new. But it's kind of like being in nursing school when they put us through clinical rotations of like, in my nursing school cohort, there were like 15 of them that just were diehard mother baby nurses, and they were going to be mother baby nurses, labor and delivery nurses. Like, they just knew. And I was looking at them and I was like, dude, I don't know with that kind of certainty or with that kind of passion about what I want to do. But what clinicals did for me is showed me a lot of things that I don't want to do or that I'm not cut out for. I'm fascinated by wound care nursing, but the smell, I literally passed out twice in nursing school from the smell on the floor in a patient room. I'm not joking. And so I'm not cut out for that. And it was really helpful to know by shadowing the wound care nurse for a day in nursing school. I also thought that I wanted to be a flight nurse. I somehow got my way onto a helicopter. And then I realized like this lifestyle actually really sucks. Like, and all of the nurses on the flight crew were very honest of like, I'm divorced and it's because of my job. Like, I have no personal life. And I was like, ooh, okay, no. So those are things that I would not have known otherwise without the experience under my belt. And I know a lot of us like to learn from firsthand experiences. Like, that's how we need to process things. And as nurses, we are told, and rightfully so, we are told to take care of everybody always. you don't get to like choose your patient assignment when you go to the hospital or you go to the clinic. Like you are just responding to whatever walks into the door. And here in nurse coaching land, eventually you do get to choose. Eventually, like if someone gives you the heebie-jeebies or makes your intuition fire off in a weird way, you don't have to serve
Right.
everybody. So I want to highlight that as well, of like eventually you get to say no, and that can come through a niche or can come through someone just like you don't feel like a connection there. You can refer them
Yeah.
to someone else. But so when is the right time for a niche? We've given you like an hour window between like 100, 130 coaching hours under your belt is usually when this naturally happens, when this naturally comes to people. But it's important for things like a website or a social media marketing plan or email lists, like all of these things. And hopefully this isn't new news to you if you've been listening for a long time, but having a niche can be helpful whenever you are doing these
Yeah.
things. And if you hire somebody to do your website, they're going to ask you 50 questions about your niche, and chances are you're not going to know if you've never been a
Right.
paid coach before. And it's not a good investment of your funds. Yeah, okay. Well, that's kind of like my rant. Anything else that we should add into here?
Yeah. I want to talk about another, like a champagne problem that I see new nurse coaches talk about. And I feel like I fell into this category too. But there was a feeling once you get into the private practice world, and if you're cash pay, there are certain populations in the world that cannot afford your services.
Mm,
Like,
mm-hmm.
right? In today's economy, that's probably higher than when I started my business.
Yeah.
And because we come from nursing, there's this sense of, well, that's not equitable and that's not fair. And so I'm going to coach this person pro bono because they can't afford it. They just lost their job. And I'm going to coach this person pro bono because of this and because of this. And yes, you should. Absolutely. After your business is sustainable.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like for those of you who if I'm talking to you, if there's a lower income population or a specific problem population that you know traditionally isn't going to have $2,000 to spend on coaching, although this is not a hard, fast rule. I've had lots of people that don't make a lot of money find ways to pay me for coaching and have great experiences. Make it part of your business plan. Make it part of your business plan that you give away 10% of all of your time to people who can't afford it and have a process for people to apply for that. But you have to get to a point where the oxygen mask is on your business and that you are fed and your needs are taken care of. And that's going to take you probably 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And so this feeling that you're going to come out of CERT and you're going to start serving underprivileged populations, it's a beautiful sentiment. It's just not practical for most people because then you're usually making money from a job and then you're spending all your coaching time coaching for free. And that's a recipe for burnout and not something that's super sustainable. Unless you're independently wealthy or your husband or wife makes all the money and doesn't care what you do with your time, that's a different conversation. But I just don't find that's the percentage of people that are wanting this. And this can also be a way for you to make getting paid for coaching wrong. It's resistance.
Yeah. Yep. Yes. I know that like the heart of this intention is like so good. And I had someone say to me once well, Shelby, I believe that we were kind of like dueling on a workshop I was hosting. This was several years ago. She was saying that coaching is too expensive and I was coaching her around money mindset. And she was like, well, I just believe that therapy should be free. And I was like, I 100% agree with you. Like mental health services should absolutely be free, but coaching is not therapy. It is therapeutic in nature, but it is not therapy. And so I 100% on board that there should be access to resources meeting the needs of where people are at and the nature of our business. I think that coaching is most effective when people have some skin in the game that makes them a little nervous. I would have quit 500 times before today had I not. And part of me wishes that wasn't the case, right? That like we didn't have to play with our mindset like that. But many, many times in my first 2 years of business of like, I don't want to go to this call today. I'm over it. But I paid $20,000 for this seat. So I'm going to go.
Yeah. And then you feel different at the end of the call.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I have seen one approach I've seen is somebody go hard for a grant So like there's there's like ways for this to work. I
Yeah.
have a mentee that we just finished up who has a special needs daughter, and she's part of a kind of a nonprofit charity run house for the kids and for the parents. And she really wanted to bring a program there. But for her to get paid at all, she would need to get a grant for her to get paid. But when a grant pays for coaching, people don't show up to your coaching calls.
Right.
So then you're spending your time and energy, you're not getting paid a lot, and people aren't showing up. That's not sustainable either.
Mm-hmm.
So even for low sliding scale or suggested donation is always a better choice than free. And there are ways for you to create 10% of your business to serve those people. And maybe that even becomes part of your why for becoming really big and successful, because then you get to do even more of it.
Yeah.
Right. Like it can be it could be a really like great thing, but can also be super strangely shadowy resistance, all dressed up as virtue and generosity.
Yeah.
It sucks. Our brains are tricky.
Yeah,
it's
they
tricky
are.
between those ears. Yeah.
Yeah. If you have I know nurses know that visualization of a cup, right? Of like, you can't give from an empty cup. And if you're going to be coaching for free, I would argue that you can't even give from a full cup. You have to be giving from the overflowing cup. Like
yes.
The excess energy that you have because your needs are taken care of, because your self-care is on point, because you are so wrapped in support for yourself that you just have this abundance of it to give to others, so that it's like clean energetically between the two of you. Or if we're even pouring from a full cup, it still doesn't add up. Like the math, eventually we're going to get to the bottom if there's no replenishing happening. Oh, there was one more thing I wanted to say. The cup. Oh, and also too, team, the reality is like, you're going to coach so much for free, like so much. All the time. I've probably coached, this summer, I don't know.
I've coached 100 hours free.
50 hours at least of free coaching time.
Yeah.
Same. Like, so much.
You're still going to coach for free. You can't be a broke philanthropist. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, I think that charity and giving back I just did a post about it today. It's like, I want to have an abundance of resources taking care of me and my family, financially, mentally, emotionally. I'm hiring a house manager to help me here at the farm. I want all of that dialed in so that I can give even more than I do now. And that becomes part of your why. And that is good, because you're kind of amplifying energy. You become an amplifier of good. And you have to understand energy, which that's what money actually is, before you can amplify it and give it. And I'm really passionate about that. Like, success would be a bunch of our clients just giving to charity every year of their choice. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Totally. I think that more money in the hands of folks that know how to work with it and do so much good with it. Like, hell yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. Anything else we have on this spicy take, do you think?
I just really wrapping it back to niche and ideal client and stuff. We help you with all this stuff in our course. And whenever you hire us, I mean, this is like one of the most common things that we deal with all the time, of whenever people niche down and it's too soon and whatever. We hold your hand through this process. We also have a lot of worksheets on like when it's the right time to explore it and all the things. We are well equipped in this area. But if you are new, if you are in certification, if you haven't been in the paid coaching space yet, really anybody who says yes is your ideal client. And it's just your job to be out there kind of generically inviting to folks to be showing up in the world as nurse coach you and seeing who that pulls in. We don't have to explain what nurse coaching is. Nobody cares about your niche, like literally at all, in the stage that you're in right now. And then it's just whoever says yes. That's your only job right now.
Yeah.
And if you have somebody telling you otherwise, if you get on a call with another coach or you explore the funnel world, all of that stuff is relevant in 3 to 4 years from now. That stuff is expensive. So like, we talk to a lot of nurse coaches who go spend 10, 20K on a thing that provides no connections, no leads, no clients. It's because it was too soon.
Yeah, it's great advice at the right stage. You just want to make sure they're right. If you're on a call with a coach, you want to make sure they understand the stage that you're at, because anyone trying to pitch you that they're going to build you a funnel and guarantee you leads when you haven't had a paid client yet is a snake oil salesman.
Yeah.
And that's a nice way of saying it.
Also, as some perspective here, we now have like we're tinkering a little with ads for NLCA. So like primarily we want to fill through word of mouth. That would be significant. But to get it out there, we're playing a little bit in the world of Facebook ads, and we know people. We have a niche. We've had a niche. We have 150 hours of podcast recordings. Like we have all the things that you need to make this effective, and it still takes time. Genuinely, like this is medium game stuff.
Yes.
As well, at the very best, more likely long game.
Medium long. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And until you have a niche, so let me give you the ideal. This is the North Star that you're shooting for, and you'll eventually get there if you don't quit. The goal is to find the problem that you deeply desire to solve in the world, get so good at solving it that you're an expert at solving that problem, and then get really, really good about talking about how you solve that problem, and then tell the whole world how you solve that problem. And you will have a booming business and leads until coming out of your ears. That's the goal.
Yeah.
In the meantime, when you're unsure, let enthusiasm take its place.
Yep.
So somebody asks you, like, what do you do? I help humans. Tell me more about you.
Yeah.
What do you do? I'm a life coach. When people spend time with me, their life gets better. But I'm more curious about what you do. Just be interested in other people and say, I'd love to spend a few hours with you. I'm not going to charge you. Just tell somebody about me if it's good. That's like it. Replace your niche problem. Just be so excited about it. Like enthusiasm goes a really, really long way until you have clarity. That's how I sold all my coaching. I just cheerleaded this strange experience with me with like unrealistic confidence.
Borrow it. If you don't have it, borrow it from Laura. It's here. Oh, all right,
guys. Thanks for hanging with us today. We would love to spend time with you in our Facebook groups. And Shelby and I think, I'm not exactly sure when this is going to go live. We have some spaces for one-on-one calls. So if you're contemplating NLCA, just book a call. Even if you're not ready to pull the trigger, we can talk to you and talk you through it. I don't know how much longer you'll have the ability to talk to me and Shelby directly. So do it now. And then at the time of this, I'm sure we're going to have some programs beginning to enroll. And in January, we've got so much cool stuff online. So let us know where you're at in your journey. Even if you're just in certification, we'll put a reminder. We'll reach out to you directly, and can't wait to see you.
Yeah. All right, team. Thanks for hanging today. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.